Today, I will be talking about the It franchise. Now, I tried making this video like freaking 5 or 6 times already, and they all failed.
Okay, let me try it again.
So let's try it again. Unlike doing the Evil Dead, which I just did maybe 3 weeks or a month ago, a little too long, I did like a whole tier list, and that was cool. But I think this time we're just going to go over my least favorite to my most favorite in the It franchise, starting with number 4, and that'll be the OG It. Now, unfortunately, this is what kicked off my whole hatred for clowns when I was a young kid,
I hate clowns!
because Tim Curry killed it as It, and all the scenes with him with those damn teeth like coming out. It scared the shit out of me. Yeah, it scared the absolute shit out of me. And I thought that every clown that I saw like had these freaking teeth that came out of nowhere, and they were just, they're ravenous killers. Not the case, obviously, but he was fantastic. Tim Curry is just a great actor in general. I thought that the pacing of this movie was kind of cool, in the world building, like especially them as kids. That was always a fun part to see, because it felt like it was really attached to that time, and you you felt like I was engaged with that whole like part of it. When you get into them as adults, that was also really, I thought the actors were really well. I thought the way they portrayed like the whole like coming back together was kind of cool. Also interweaving like the past and present, I thought it was done really well. And then the scene that always stuck out to me in watching this is the whole Georgie scene, which is the opening scenes.
And when you're down here with me, you float down!
Always gets me. Really cool, and very iconic. Now, I will say that this was not it wasn't graphic at all, so you don't really get any like blood, guts, nothing like that. Like, I don't want to jump too far ahead, but like the newer ones, you see a bunch of that kind of stuff. But I think in part this one didn't have it because it was a TV special, not necessarily a theatrical release. So there's a lot more limitations they are able to go. But not having that when it kind of could call for it kind of sucked. I don't feel like you also get a lot of Tim Curry Pennywise. You don't get much of him, as much as in the later ones you get a lot of Pennywise. This one not so much, although the times you do see him is pretty impactful, and it was done really well. I felt that it did drag 3 hours. Didn't realize it was 3 hours. I had to stop the movie like 2 or 3 times. I'm like, gosh damn, very, very long. And you felt it. The horror scenes didn't really age too well, but again, like, I don't think a lot of them from the back in the day really age well. Like, I don't look at Halloween, Nightmare on Elm Street, certainly Friday 13th, or like Chucky, or Child's Play rather. And none of them really scare you. Like, they're just kind of old movies, so they're just fun to watch, more than them being actually scary. And I will say too, in this one, the final act was kind of a letdown, not climactic at all. And I know a lot of people have issues with like the whole bug thing, but I just don't think it was good. Like, it kind of was. It was cheesy. I don't know. That's the best way I can think of it. Next will be number 3, and that will be It Chapter 2. Fairly fun watch, especially in theaters, because I'll go right after it. The old lady scene for me was already really creepy, but it did scare me. And that was because like you see her in the background, she's all like dancing, and she dances off screen, and then you just in the darkness, like as she's peering into like the kitchen, like all the lights are off and it's just darkness, and then you hear all the thumping and stuff like that, and then she comes rushing out. Scared me, damn near pissed myself. However, I will say the letdown after is just the amount of CGI they use. If they use practical effects, I think that would have been, better. I think it would have landed a little bit better. But again, this one, I think a theme with this one is the overuse of CGI, which kind of kills a lot of the scenes. And maybe they had to, because like, again, like, I think when you go over
Today, Junior?
Bill Hader's part where he's getting like axed by the lumberjack, the gigantic lumberjack, how are you going to do it in practical sense? I don't know. Maybe like CGI made sense in that, but you didn't have to CGI every bit of a scary scene. So I don't know about that. You do get a lot of Pennywise lore. Not a lot, but you do get some Pennywise lore. That was kind of interesting. I will say that that was something that I had questions with when I watched the TV series, which I'll talk about more towards the end. But it is kind of nice that you do get to have your, dip your toes into some of the lore about it. I will say the ending this time was a little bit more, climactic than the OG It. I thought it was done way better. You do get, the actual like ritual chud, even though it's different in the novel. You do get some of that, which is cool. And then again, you get the crushing the heart. And I think that was done, pretty well as you really can. Like, you don't want to lose essence of the whole spider thing, even though people hate the spider thing. It's in the book, dude. So you kind of have to have the spider. And I think that was the best way to probably do it. I don't know, better than the last one. I will say that the pacing, I thought in the very beginning, it felt rushed for some reason. Like, I watched it and I'm like, whoa, I feel like they're skipping a little too much, or they're like trying to move it a lot faster than it should be. But now when I think about it, maybe for good reason. Dude, you're already hitting 3 hours, long as hell. You could have cut a lot of other scenes that kind of were just fillers. And maybe, maybe you could have paced the first act a little bit better. I don't know. It's just me. But yeah, it was a little too long. I thought they needed to trim some fat around to kind of like reduce it. And it would probably be a little bit better. And then maybe kind of like rework the first act a little bit. Again, rushed, but it is what it is. Now, number two, and surprisingly, something I really, really enjoyed was the It TV series on HBO. Way better than I thought it was going to be. A lot of the times, like you get the horror television series, and they're not good, and certainly not scary. This one does. It's still really creepy for a television series, like way more than I got with like American Horror Story or shit. I can't even think off the top of my head, but a lot of the other ones. This one actually was really well. I thought the lore behind it was cool. They did some like world building off of the interlude on the It novel, so I thought they kind of went their own way with the world building. Very, 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 very well done. I used very a lot of times right there. That's a little too much, but it was very cool. It was engaging without having to show Pennywise the clown, but when they showed Pennywise the clown, like it was it was meaningful and very impactful. And you also get to see like the whole like cult like coming into Pennywise and how that happened. And I thought that was cool. Again, a lot of cool like background story that you never got to hear or see on television or on TV, well, in a movie. And it did it really well. I thought it was also cool having Bill Skarsgård come back. Like he is it, which was really cool. So I didn't expect him to be that. I thought I was going to have another actor, because usually when they go in the TV series, the people that are on the movies never translate to the television series. They always have another actor coming in. But he's like, nah, this is me. Like, I'm Pennywise. I'm going to keep doing it. So I thought that was cool. And I think it keeps the tone of the newer series, which is, again, good. It worked in their favor because all the scary scenes were still scary. So I would say that there wasn't a whole lot of down to me. We're still waiting for season 2. Hopefully that one doesn't, surprise me with a huge letdown. But so far from what I saw out of the first season was amazing. And then lastly, number one, I think it's pretty much everyone's, unanimous favorite It one is the first chapter. It was scary as hell. I thought what was super good about the first one is the child actors, dude. They killed it. They it felt like they were random fucking kids just like goofing around and shit like that, like talking shit to each other. It was really cool, really funny. A great bit of build up. I thought, a great way to set the tone for this new series, like very dark, really sinister, scary as hell. Like when you first see Bill Skarsgård's in the whole like Georgie scene that they redid, it was awesome, dude. It was so well done. And you're like, damn, like he is scary. He's really fucking scary, and everything that he did with like facial movements, it was all him. So well done, dude. I thought like if this was a great way to do a remake of a series. Again, scary. I thought, it was really terrifying for me, especially like the movie projector thing where they're out there, they're in the garage flipping through the projector, and all of a sudden it gets knocked over. It's going through the still of like the mom with the hair on the face, and you see it ends up being Pennywise, and he comes through the damn projector. That fucking whoo, especially in theaters, that shit got me so good. That has to be that. What to me, that was the scariest part of the movie, and there's a lot of them. But yeah, that was a great tone in the movie. Really scary, really gory too. You know, seeing Georgie get his freaking arm chomped off, dude. Didn't think that was gonna happen, and it happened. So you got to give it credit to where credit is due. Now, overall, one thing that I noticed was obviously the original It had the whole 30-year lore versus the 27 years. And by that I mean like it comes back every 30 years in the OG one, and then it versus it coming around every 27 years. Again, I never read the original novel, so when I had to Google it, apparently the 27 year is the actual number in the novel. So why they did it, I don't know, but I'll just say, that was one of the things that caught my attention when I heard it. Also, the way in which they kill Pennywise at the very end of the movie. Uh, the OG movie did the slingshot scene, and then they grab the heart and everything like that. Versus the newer one, they did the whole ritual of Chud, which was obviously what they did in the novel, although the ritual of Chud was a lot different in the book than they actually portrayed in the movie. However, they still had it and called it the ritual of Chud. So you got that. And both of which they remove his heart, crush it, and there goes Pennywise. Another thing that wasn't I would say, like stand out or anything like that, but you noticed was like the sexual nature of Eddie and Richie. Those kind of got swapped in the OG movie, and I believe in the novel it was Eddie who wasn't necessarily like gay or anything like that, but there was mentions of like there was some confusion or there was something there, but it wasn't like boom he's this. It was just kind of like maybe some nuance there. In the newer one, it was Richie this time. Not quite sure why they did it. I don't know if it was just the director's choice, but it was Richie this time. However, this time they did kind of beat it over your head a little bit too much. And it's like they really try to make it part of the story, which nothing wrong if that's what your character is, but it didn't progress the story at all. Like it didn't do anything for the story, but you referenced it multiple times, like more than you really needed to. So that was kind of like odd in a sense, but then also why they had to switch the characters, not really sure, but that was something that caught my eye. I will say also that both take pieces from the source material, obviously some more than others. For instance, like Mike Hanlon doing the narration of the original movie, also in the novel, versus this time Mike Hanlon doesn't do it. It kind of the newer series was more about Bill than it was Mike Hanlon, who Mike Hanlon again was the one that starts everything. Everyone comes together and so on and so forth. It was more around him. Also, the TV series does expand on the novels like interlude, like I was saying, from when I was talking about the actual television series, but it crafts its own story within it, which I thought was really nice. The only thing then I do get confused is that there's some differences in the way that it is talked about in the original or in the It Chapter 2 versus the It television series. I mean, I'm assuming that they're going to kind of go more on the television series since it's newer, obviously, but there's not a lot of similarities there. I was a lot different. They didn't mention a lot about the Indians or indigenous people, whatever. They didn't talk about like the stones and how they kind of captured it or anything like that. Like no mention of that at all. So it's like I felt like it needed to be, but I don't know. Again, from what the TV series has given me, as for like more of the core lore, I enjoy it. And then lastly, obviously CGI. I think again, I talked about it, but there's a little bit too much overuse of CGI where they didn't need to. If they stuck to a little bit more practical effects, I think that would have been really, really cool to actually see. And maybe it would like make the horror scenes more appealing and more frightful if it was more practical effects, because then it becomes more real again versus CGI. When you see it, like, okay, obviously when Pennywise opens his mouth and you see the deadites, like that's CGI. Like it's not hard to tell. How do you do that in practical sense? I'm not quite sure, but maybe if you did it, it'd land a little bit better. Again, still really good. I think as a whole, I didn't really think that there was going to be another television or another horror franchise that was going to just have like all the movies kind of be really good. Again, Evil Dead is kind of like the anomaly where every movie was good, even the bad one or the worst of the franchises, really good. This one was kind of the same thing. Like even in my mind, and I know a lot of people would say that the OG It was probably the weakest of all the other It movies or adaptations, but it's still really good. Technically, there's only 3 movies and 1 television series, but they're all good in their own right. None of them were bad at all. So that was my take on It. Still trying to figure out the next one will probably be Nightmare on Elm Street. So we'll catch you later.